What's going on, guys, and welcome to June's episode of Plus Club, the show where we play the games offered on PlayStation Plus throughout the month, and at the end of the month, we talk about them. My name's Seth, and joining me today is Chevy. Chevy, how you doing? Are you excited to talk about NBA 2K23, Jurassic World Evolution 2, and Trek to Yomi, the games that were played in June, and are you excited to find out what we're playing in July?
Yeah, doing pretty good. Did get a chance to play each of the games this month a decent amount, so I should have something to say about them. And then next month, I know I saw them and I've already forgot them, so I guess I'll be relearning. Right?
Well, with that, let's look at what's coming out next month. Those games are Call of Duty Black Ops, Cold War, Alan Wake, and Endling. Extinction is something. Extinction is Forever. Which I looked up, and it is a 2D perspective, cartoony, side-scrolling narrative game about you being the last fox and your fox pups with you.
Okay.
So, one of those kind of games. Other than that, though, we got a Call of Duty and Alan Wake.
Okay. I don't know if I'm that excited, but maybe I'll be surprised.
Yeah. I've played through and beaten Alan Wake, and I have not played the remaster, so I'm actually interested in this, specifically because Alan Wake 2 comes out this year, so this is kind of perfect. I own Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War, and it was one of the Call of Duties I said I would never buy, and then Josh convinced me to buy it, so stay tuned, and we'll discuss it at the end of July. And then Endling, Extinction is Forever is a name that does not roll off the tongue very easily. It's quite a bit, but the premise sounds like it's either going to be really good or really whatever. So that's the big mystery game this month for me personally, because I've already played the other two games outside of the remaster for Alan Wake. I'll be really curious to see how they've handled that, but pretty okay month in anticipation, I think. I mean, Alan Wake, of course, I'm really excited for, but I've played it, so yeah. You're not excited about Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War? It's got single player.
Not especially. I mean, I'm gonna give it a shot.
It's got I think it had horrible maps. I don't know. We'll talk about it. I barely remember that game. It's like around the time like I was playing the World War II game Vanguard, and then that, and it's all a blur. So anyway, yeah, glad you're doing good. I'm doing well. I'm a little tired, but I'm here to have this conversation. Excited to talk about the games that we played, and really looking forward to playing these games in July. So, yeah, with that, let's jump into our reviews of the games we played in June, and those games were, again, I almost said Alan Wake. NBA 2K23, Jurassic World Evolution 2, and Trek to Yomi. We should probably start with NBA 2K23. If you guys didn't get a chance to play it, it's a basketball game. You get a ball, you run around with it, you pass it to other people, you try to make sure other people don't take it from you, and you throw it into a hoop with a net, and you get points. This game features a couple features that I couldn't access, and I'll get into that. It has a career mode. I think it had some kind of like coach mode, something like that. It had a free play mode. I'm not sure what that was called, but that's what I played. It has online modes. I believe it, oh God, I don't even remember at this point. Do you remember any of the things it offers?
No, I mean, like most sports games, it's a suite of options. So,
and it offers basketball with a bunch of teams. I played as the Seattle something that we got. I don't remember. Wizards, yeah, maybe. But yeah, we both played it. Let's jump into your impressions of NBA 2K23 in June.
Okay, well, I think first and foremost, if you're new to the channel, I'm not into sports whatsoever. So
Same.
Just throwing that out there. But video games aren't necessarily the same thing as just watching sports. So first thing I noticed, which is typical of these type of games, is it's a lot of login stuff you have to do before starting it because they want you to be part of their account and their ecosystem, as well as your normal console or PC credentials or whatever. So once you get into that or whatever, I kind of just went into it's like your My Story or whatever it's called. It's basically you create a character and you go through a season or a career or something like that with them.
That's one of the features I was trying to remember because I was like, you can create something in this game, but when I try to do it, it's like you need blah blah blah, and I was like, I'm not interested in that. Anyway,
yeah. So I made what could probably only be referred to as a rat gremlin.
damn.
Mostly because I just wasn't taking it super seriously. So I figured if I wanted to stand out on the court, I just needed to look ridiculous. So made my
That's an easy
character.
way to find your character amongst a bunch of other characters.
Yeah. First thing, once it started going is, and sports games seem to do this pretty often. It seems like the actual like cutscenes and character models and stuff like that are great. They did a really good job. Your character moves around and talks very animated with the people they're conversing with in the beginning. As much as I could really give them credit, the voice acting was like pretty decent as well. I like believed they were talking to each other, which was kind of nice. I obviously have very low expectations on this game, so a lot of surprises for me.
There's a whole chunk of this game I just didn't experience apparently.
Yeah. And then finally, when you get started, you kind of run into this guy who's kind of like your rival for the first match or whatever. Super dorky. I'm sure it was fun for some people, but the way that he was kind of talking to your character, I was just like, okay, this is so dorky. But I suppose fitting. And then finally get to play. And at first, I didn't really know what I was doing because I didn't do a tutorial or anything like that. And the good news is it's not that hard to play. So
Yeah.
I figured it out pretty quickly, which was nice.
Yeah, I went straight into just quick play. It's one of the things I could access, and I didn't know how to play it. So I went back, and there was like 4 modes. One's NBA, one's WNBA, one's MBAU or something like that. I forgot what it's called, or 2KU or something like that. And that's essentially their tutorial. It's university. I started that up, and it only told me how to do a couple things. So I'm not sure how exactly I was supposed to learn the other things. I'm sure maybe in the pause menu it's there somewhere. But I went in there, learned a little bit, and then I hopped back into just the quick play mode, and I figured it out from there. But it was a little frustrating at first trying to get it down. But once I got it down, the controls are actually pretty simple.
They are, which I appreciate. We had that same thing to say about what game was that? Soccer, right? FIFA. Played FIFA. The controls were like super decent to play, or on that too. It was really easy to like get in and play it. So
Yeah.
so they've gotten that down, which I really appreciate because I kind of remember an era where sports games controls were kind of wacky.
Well, I obviously I don't play a whole lot of. I've been playing them more lately through this channel, but I don't play a whole lot of sports games, so my frame of reference is kind of not there. But playing basketball and soccer games, I think have played pretty good. I've been surprised by both genres in terms of video games, but I remember the last 2 like baseball games we had played. I didn't like their lack of content, how janky they felt, and the control schemes and stuff like that. So if there's a good one of those, let me know. But yeah, it doesn't go for all of them, in my opinion. I think it was like MLB The Show I wasn't that big of a fan of. But then like I played FIFA, and I was actually like really surprised by how good it played. And then this game, it's pretty simple.
Yeah. Yeah. And then, being not one to really pay attention to basketball that much, I forgot that you can't like touch people, like period.
Oh, just fouling nonstop.
Yeah. So I had to figure that out real quick and then try to figure out like how defense works, which I was pretty terrible at. But upon making my character, I maxed out pretty much his 3-point shot ability and pretty much nothing was shooting. So he sucked at everything but shooting. So I would just pass the ball as much as possible until I had like a decent opening, and then I'd shoot, or sometimes I would just pass to the NPC and let them shoot it. It was super intuitive, really easy to play in that regard. So that was appreciative because, yeah, I would have been lost otherwise. Um, yeah, did 2 or 3 games that way. I almost said matches, but that's not a fighting game. And then I tried the coaching mode for a moment, and I felt a little confused on what to do. If there was dialogue, I might have skipped through it, and that's on me. But I wasn't really. I was still playing, so I was a little confused because I thought it'd be like a sim mode where I was just like kind of like giving advice from the sidelines or something like that while picking your teams and rotating them out and stuff like that. And maybe it is like that, but it kind of went over my head. So, which is unfortunate because it was probably the most interesting thing for me. If I was gonna play a sports game, would be to just be like a manager. And,
I thought it was interesting that when I was even playing in free play, I would play, and then in between, whatever they'd be called, there's parts where the coach is talking with the team, and you could interact with that.
oh,
I didn't know what the hell I was doing with it, but you could actually like coach your team, and I was like, that's a cool little touch.
That is cool, yeah. So yeah, I mean, very ignorantly though, I would say it feels like they really are into the sport. They wanted to make a game that was accessible not only to sports players, but just people who play video games. So appreciated for sure. I had a pretty okay time.
Yeah, it sounded like you had a more robust time than me. So the game started up and asked me to sign up for whatever to
A 2K account or whatever.
yeah, and which I have a 2K account, but and I think I tried to sign into it, but it didn't work. So I don't know. Anyway, I didn't make an account because I was like, even if I like this game, I don't see myself sticking with it because I barely have time to play the games I want to play right now, let alone a sports game. So I didn't sign up for it. I didn't know when I didn't sign up for it that I wouldn't have access to certain things in the game. I'm not going to dock it for that. I want to be transparent about that before somebody goes like, well, you didn't even play career. I didn't. The reason I didn't is because they wanted me to sign up for some shit I didn't want to sign up for. So take my review as you will then. But I do think it's kind of stupid to hold modes back unless there's like an online mode where you're playing against people. I can understand making an account in that case, but just for a career mode, it's kind of stupid. So anyway, I played with what I could, which was mostly just the quick play and then the tutorial. And I played for a couple hours. The game's good looking. It's not as good as I was hoping, but maybe I'm just spoiled from every time I play a sports game, I'm always kind of blown away with how they look and how the animations look. And in this, I was like, yeah, it looks pretty decent, but not that great. But that might just be because I've become accustomed to these. It's not like novel anymore.
Yeah.
But I was looking at, the character models, they look good. The animations are good. The shorts have physics, which I think is probably standard for anybody who plays these games regularly. But for me, I was kind of impressed that they even put work into the clothes physics of what they're wearing.
I mean, what else they got to work on? What
Sure. I mean? Yeah, they got a court. They got the ball physics. They got the mocapping. And then, what else from there? Every year you're trying to figure out something to add. And you're like, hey, let's fucking add swishy shorts physics. I took note of that. The controls, after you learn them, are pretty straightforward. I think I got most of it down. I still don't know how to defend very well. I found myself multiple times, as soon as it would start, I would just run across the court and start just going nuts on someone, and then I just get called out, and then foul. And then what was really weird is I was doing that because I was just being ridiculous, and then my NPC teammates are doing that. They have run up and foul. And I'm like, what the fuck? Are they learning from me? I don't get it. Or is this just like a coincidence? It was really weird. My whole team was just fouling, which is embarrassing. And then they got the free throw, or the fuck, throw. Fuck. Can't even talk.
Free throw.
Yeah, free throw. Which was annoying to just sit there and watch. Anyone who's into sports is like, bro, this guy doesn't know what the fuck he's talking about. I don't. At all. I don't even care. But as a game, it was fun. I don't know if I could sit there and play it for like a long time because I don't have an affinity for the sport. But I'm always kind of surprised with this game and like especially FIFA. For some reason, I thought FIFA was a lot of fun. Even if you're not into sports in real life, sports are just games that people play, so they translate well to video games. And if you're into,
On a very
a
basic
score,
level.
a score, and beating people like you do in video games, I think they translate just fine as long as the gameplay is fine. Like I brought up before, any baseball game we've played for the channel, I've just not been into. And like I remember when I was a kid, I loved playing baseball games or
Sports talk.
yeah, shit like that, and fucking try to get that home run or when you're pitching, either actually try to pitch correctly or just throw it right at the player and see what happens. I see it all the time,
Fuck around and find out.
but I didn't get that kind of enjoyment out of any modern baseball games as of late. But this is pretty fun. And FIFA was pretty fun. This game has an interesting system where, like, I forgot, it's one of the shoulder buttons. It shows you buttons over your teammates, and you're able to quick transfer. But then there's also another button you're able to press really quickly, and it just takes you to whoever's closest to the ball, which is the button I found myself using the most, just because it was convenient. Because like you can get as much out of the game as you want. Maybe you want the full immersion of your teammates playing with you, or you're like, I want to always be involved with that ball no matter what. You can kind of do that, which I think is pretty cool.
It's also pretty good about like if the person on your right's closer, but you like are starting to run to the left and you pass, you'll throw it to the person on the left too.
Yeah.
So it's pretty good about that too. It doesn't just instantly pick the closest person.
Yeah, and they obviously have been making the game for a while because the throwing the ball, passing the ball to your teammates is intuitive. It works. It always went to exactly where I was trying to throw it. The shooting mechanic I thought was interesting as well. It was satisfying when you're shooting from further away. If you nail the slider, I think you could use two different ways. It was like either the joystick, you press it down and then up or something like that, and then which wasn't too bad, but not really my cup of tea. And then I forgot what the other one was.
You
I think
just
it's
hold the button
one of the face
and let
buttons,
go.
yeah.
Yeah.
Which I was finding myself using the most,
Yeah, same.
but that was satisfying to nail that and watch it go into the hoop, and yeah, it's cool. Other than that, though, I mean, that's pretty much all I did was just played basketball, which is what you're supposed to do in this game. I did not do any of the career mode. I did not do any of the coaching stuff, even though I got a taste of it when I was playing free play, because in between it would let you do that. So, but I don't think it was enough to really have a good idea. The game seems to have a good roster of teams. Has some classic teams, which I thought was really interesting. Also had a Michael Jordan challenge mode, which I think was like to relive moments in his career. I went to do that, but then it started playing this video of like Michael Jordan stuff, and I'm like, I'm just gonna go play the game. I don't care about this. So, yeah, it was a basketball game, and it wasn't bad, but it wasn't amazing either. So, from what I experienced, and I would have liked to experience more, but I just didn't want to sign up for it. So, oh well. But yeah, it was okay. Anything else you want to add to that?
Not that I can think of.
All right, well, we basketballed. Let's jump into recommendations. I think an easy one. If you're into basketball, you probably already played this. You're probably pulling your hair out of your head right now listening to me talk about this game.
Honestly, 2K's got some pretty avid fans.
Yeah. Well, they make them all the time, so
Yeah.
they're definitely selling. So if you're into that, if you're into sports in general, you like the idea of people taking balls and taking them to different kinds of goals and things.
And making points.
And making points and fouling.
Big fan of fouling.
Definitely check this game out. If you like competitive versus games, I think you would probably like this. Although that recommendation's kind of a no duh, because like everybody knows what basketball is. So I don't think I'd be the one to need to recommend it to you. But maybe you're somebody who is like, I'm not really into basketball. I'd still say, maybe if you're a competitive dude and you like the idea of, getting points or, upping your score, check it out. Might be for you. And yeah.
Games with lots of modes. The game has, like we've already mentioned, there's a career mode, there's coaching mode, there's a free play mode, there's online modes, there's the Michael Jordan mode. Like, there's a lot to offer in that regard. So
yeah. I didn't play the coaching mode, but I would add for any sports game that does that. But for this specifically, because we're talking about it, I feel like management in games. I feel like micromanaging things.
Out, but yeah.
Yeah, well, I'm sure somebody can, but yeah, it's probably a recommendation, even though I didn't experience it a little bit. But anyway, yeah. Any other recommendations? All right, let's grade it. I'll grade first since you did your impressions first. I'm gonna grade this probably for me personally because my experience was not as robust as I would have liked because of arbitrary bullshit. I'm going to give it a strong B-. Good graphics, gameplay's good, and the modes I interacted with were fun and played well enough. Wasn't a whole lot of staying power for me, but again, I'm not the right audience. I'm sure if I was into basketball, I would be all in on, all the teams you have access to, all the Michael Jordan events that you can relive through a challenge mode. If I was into coaching teams and I could figure it out and had access to it, I'm sure it would have done a lot for me. But for me personally, strong B-, which is pretty good coming from me, somebody who's not into basketball at all. So, yeah.
Yeah. Outside of the fact that I'll probably never play it again, mostly because it's just not an interest for me. It has not a knock at the game at all. I'm actually going to give it a B. I think it's a quality made game. It was really easy to pick up and figure out. There's a lot of variety of modes to play. And as someone who just enjoys feature-rich games anyways, I can really appreciate the work that they put into the game. So, I'd give it a B for sure. I think it's a well-made game. So,
yeah, fair enough. Anything else?
No.
Let us know in the comments. What'd you guys think of NBA 2K23? If you play the series regularly, is this a good one, or is there better ones that have come out? And also, what basketball games do you like? Is there other ones that's not NBA 2K23?
I think 2K is pretty much the game, unless you play some more gimmicky style one. So.
Yeah. And if you're just hopping into this for the first time, or maybe you haven't played them in a while, what'd you think of this? What were your takeaways? What were your favorite modes? What are some features that maybe we didn't talk about? I'm a little limited on my experience with the game. And did you like it? Did you not like it? Let us know everything you're thinking about in the comments below when it comes to NBA 2K23. Let's see. Next game we played this month was Trek to Yomi. Trek to Yomi is a Avenge Your Master Samurai game that is, I'm hesitant to say, a 2D perspective side-scrolling game because it's more akin to fixed camera angle Resident Evil style gameplay.
2.5.
Yeah, but with a sword fighting system that has blocking and parrying. The game is its whole aesthetic is very Kurosawa-esque, from the black and white to the film texture to the camera angles that really try to feel cinematic from that era. You run around, you fight enemies, you have a limited amount of health that you replenish when you find save points. And as you explore in between fighting enemies and interacting with environments, you find collectibles and increases to your, I think, stamina, health, and ranged weapons that you get throughout the game. We both played it, and I'll go first with this one. So I don't know how far I got into this, but I played it for a couple hours. I remember the first time I played it, I barely played it. When I re-up my save, it's like 14% through the game. I was like, oh, this is a short game, apparently, which would make sense. I think it's like one person that made it or something, but it's just got this guy's name on every time you start it. But yeah, so I played it for a little bit, and I actually, even though it's a bit simple, in the gameplay department, I actually really liked this game until something happened, and I'll talk about that, and you guys will see this footage. But I think it's important to say this is an indie game. And for an indie game, I think what this guy did was really neat. So, in case you don't know, I like samurai stuff. We like samurai stuff for sure. I'm a Kurosawa guy. I love his movies, and there's a lot of things coming out lately that pay homage to Kurosawa. I think Ghost of Tsushima definitely does that, but not as much of a love letter to it as this game feels. Because Ghost of Tsushima, you can turn it black and white if you want to play it that way, and there's some stuff scene wise that pays homage to it, but it's mostly just a open world samurai game, which is great. You should go play that game. But this game, like from the beginning on, everything feels like they're trying to recreate a Kurosawa movie as a game, and I really loved that. I thought the cinematography reminded me of old school Kurosawa movies, where the camera angles were at, where things were revealed in different scenes. When you fought bosses, the way silhouettes were played with the background. I just love the aesthetic of this game, even though the game's not the best looking game ever. I'm actually really impressed with a lot of the set pieces, a lot of the interactive moments that happen as you're running around, and the overall storytelling that they were able to do in a game like this. I didn't expect as many NPCs and interactions to be happening in this game as I experienced, and that made the experience more immersive, in my opinion. So combat is fun. I like it. I like that you can drop a dude really quickly. I also like that even though you have I think it's like 6 or 8 bubs on your health, some dudes will hit you for like 3 or 4 of them. So like your health will disappear if you're letting them hit you. And so it does have that kind of like quick strike samurai feel to the combat. Every couple fights, you're finding yourself finding save points that replenish your health, and these feel kind of earned because you're going through fighting dudes and just trying to get to the next checkpoint. It is very generous on the amount of checkpoints there are, but I don't mind because I'm not playing this for the challenge. I was playing it just for the fun of it, and I definitely was having fun there. I was also surprised to see how much exploration this game has. I expected it to be just a pretty straightforward, narrative-driven, side-scrolling combat game that was samurai looking, and it is that for the most part, but it also has a lot of nooks and crannies you can explore. There's one part, I think it might be in the footage, or it might be right after the footage you're seeing might be right after this happened, but I walked across this thing and I slightly noticed that there was like this rock path to my right. Barely noticed it. And to the left there's a bridge. I went right and the scene changes to this crack in the wall, and I squeezed through the crack, and in there was a cave that had a save point that I wouldn't have been able to replenish my health if I didn't find it, and had a collectible, and I think had one of the upgrades in there. So it had a lot of stuff in there, and it was kind of cool because it wasn't super apparent that it was there. So I like that they even have stuff like that. And then a lot of times it's very obvious where you need to go to continue through the game, but there's always like a secondary path, and some of them will lead up to multiple houses you can enter, and there'll be some dudes in there you got to fight every once in a while, or talk to people who are victims or whatever's happening, giving kind of some weight, some gravity to you trying to help people save them. And so I appreciate that as well. The game is linear, but it feels just a little more open than I was expecting, so that's really cool. So the game looks awesome, even though the graphics aren't the best ever. It's more impressive than I expected. Combat is simple but fun. The range stuff is okay. I like the sword stuff the most, but every once in a while I just have some shurikens. I'm like, I'm gonna fucking chuck these, just because I have them. The bow and arrow I liked. Uh, it drops real quickly, so I liked that. And yeah, boss battles are pretty simple. Every single one I did. There's one dude that he might be in this footage, but he jumps down. You fight him for a little bit. He jumps back. Some enemies come in and attack you, and then he comes back in. And on his second time hopping back in, I just murdered him. So I was like, okay, he's barely a boss, but I kind of appreciate it. It wasn't like a boss battle in older games where they're just flashing and they're lasting forever and stuff like that. Like it still maintains that, like, katanas are fucking dangerous feel. But yeah, enemy variety is not, from what I've experienced, too varied, but it's fine because I'm not playing this game for like a huge variety of enemy types. I want my sword to kill people, and so there are normal dudes you can kill really quick. There are some dudes who have armor who you need to be blocking or parrying against to take down faster, and then there's bosses that are pretty much glorified enemies. So they're not that much stronger. So that was fine. So here's my big problem with the game, and you guys are gonna see it in the footage, hopefully. At some point, my game broke, and enemies stopped attacking me, and so at first I was confused because like they'd run at me, and then I would sit there and I'd go to block, and they just stand there, and I go swing at them, they back up. And so they're still programmed to go after me and get away from my sword, but they wouldn't swing. And at first I was like, okay, maybe it's just this zone. And then I kept playing and nobody would attack me.
That's a weird one.
So I was just walking through, just hacking dudes up. And eventually I was like, the experience is cool, but I don't know if I could just walk through this game. So I'm probably going to try and reload it and see if that fixes it. But if my game is busted, that would be disappointing because I was having a lot of fun with it. But once the challenge of combat disappeared, I was just kind of walking through these cool sets and just killing people. And that wasn't that awesome for me. So that was kind of I'm not going to dock it too much for it, but I have to do something with that when it comes to the grade because it's pretty big.
I mean, it's part of the experience. So.
If it was like one or two dudes who did it, I'd be like, oh, this funny thing happened. Mm-hmm. But like, it was like after that, all the AI was broken.
Yeah.
And I was like, fuck. There's a couple other glitchy things that happened as well. I can't remember, but something happened before that happened. I was like, well, that's kind of weird. And then this happened, and I was like, oh, this is a much bigger problem. So the other thing was like a visual thing. I don't remember what it was. But anyway, the game's awesome. I really liked it a lot from what I did play. But the game broke, and hopefully I can remedy that. Otherwise, I'm going to have to restart. And it wouldn't be that much further back that I got to go because the game's like, pretty short. But I don't want to have to do that because the AI just like, forgot it needed to fucking fight me. So very weird to experience that. I can't think of a whole lot of games where enemies stopped attacking me. But other than that, I appreciate what they did with this game. And it's a game that's definitely meant or made for someone like me who likes this kind of gameplay, likes... it almost feels like, I said this before, but it almost reminds me of like Silent Hill and like Resident Evil when it comes to the camera angle sometimes, which I really like. I forget how much I like fixed camera angle games. But they did a good job with it for the most part, except for the AI. So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to have a pretty similar overall outlook on the game. I do have a few differences, though, and the big one is I actually don't enjoy playing the game. That's probably my least favorite part of it.
You should take my save and just walk through it.
I do like the aesthetic. I like what they did with it. The story is simple, but not in like a boring way. It is, an appropriate story for the situation that's happening in it, obviously, and it's a good motivation for your character to keep going forward. I like that there are side paths and stuff like that too. I thought that was a fun part of it, especially when you run into places where like someone is, over a person who's like huddled down, like basically about to be murdered, and you hop in there and you save them, and then they, they're thanking you or whatever. Or sometimes you'll run into people that are hiding and they're like, "Go away, go away," and you're like, "Okay, fine, like I'm leaving."
I also like the modern version of their take on essentially how enemies come from the background and foreground, like Streets of Rage almost.
Yeah.
Like you'll just be walking and some guy in the foreground will like
Start running.
Yeah, or like in the background you see people and they like look over and come down to fight you and stuff. It's kind of cool.
Yeah, there's a lot of cool scenes happening in the background a lot of times too. Like there's a moment, not to talk too much about the story of the game because it's pretty much half the game, but you're running in the foreground in front of some farmland, and you can just see a bunch of stuff happening in the background at the same time.
Yeah, it's super cinematic looking. Yeah. Like I fucking loved it.
Which was pretty cool. The bosses are very full of themselves and not that hard. So
yeah, they talk a lot of shit.
Yeah, it's kind of funny, to be honest. Let's see. I think the main character is likable. I think the voice work in the game is done well, for what it is. I think the controls are fine. I just don't enjoy the gameplay loop.
The one thing I don't like, but I get why they do it, is you have to hit X to turn around. So I found myself doing if you press back and attack, you do a backwards attack and then you turn around to attack somebody. And so most of the time I'll just back up towards people, and when they got close I do it, and it was actually a fast attack.
So one of my complaints of the game is that the turnaround button doesn't always work. At least it didn't for me. So I just get hit in the back, and I was like getting frustrated. So.
Yeah, that's I probably didn't experience that a whole lot because, like I said, I was doing the backwards attack and not the turnaround.
Yeah, there was times where like they're on both sides, and I was having no problem here. But then the person would get close to me. I'm like, okay, now turn around and hit them. And I hit the turn on button, and my person would like do a little like wiggle thing, but not turn around. I'm like, okay, fine. I guess I'm getting hit. So like, and eventually I could turn around, but it happened more often than not where like it just was being weird about it. So I don't know if that was just a me thing or if that's a thing on the PlayStation, if it's the way my controller was behaving, I don't know, but it was frustrating. So, but that's pretty much the only big issue I ran into. I also like that there are moments where you can interact with the map and change your course. Things like you would expect in games, pushing stuff over to make walkways, etc. They just kind of handle it in a fun way, like making water flow a certain way so that one path goes away but saves you the trouble fighting some people, and then you walk on top, stuff like that. So pretty cool. They definitely a lot of imagination in that regard.
Well, there's a lot of creative map design and pathing too, because there's like a part where like you're running around this big open area, and typically if you're running in an open area, you're not going to be fighting because the game fights in 2D perspective. But there was like a barn door that was on fire, and so like there's this horse and it had a carriage, and I ran up and you have to interact with it. It kicks the carriage, it goes down, goes to the fire, boom, and you're able to run through there. Once you enter there, it's like a side perspective where you have stuff in the foreground like silhouettes and stuff, and you're walking through, and then eventually you get to this part of town where you go up this ladder, you're on the side of a roof, you enter through the top of the roof, and then the screen is inside the roof. You travel through there and you're like fighting people through the roof, and it's like you're really kind of like going through this town in a lot of intricate ways, but it's all typically in like a fixed angle or 2D perspective. But if you think about it, the place is probably designed in 3D. So like they probably built the town out and then just fixed the camera angle.
Yeah, it feels like if you were to make like a town 2D, but you added like pages on top of each other to create layers. Granted, like you said, it is actually a 3D area. The camera's just fixed in a way to make it feel 2D a lot of time. But
yeah, and I just thought it was really creative and effective.
Yeah, no, they did a really good. Whoever. I don't know.
There probably was a small team, but whoever that guy is, his name's all over the game. Yeah. So I assume he had a pretty big role.
Yeah, and I think the vision is very clear when you're playing it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't really have a whole lot more to add. I pretty much agree with everything you said outside of
Your game didn't break?
my preference of gameplay and the turnaround button being sticky, I guess is the only way to word it. So,
That's fair. Recommendations?
well, let's see. If you are into, that era of Japanese, I was gonna say history, but it is fantasy as well. That era of with samurai and stuff like that. I would give it a shot. If you like Kurosawa movies, I would say give it a shot. If you like, it's gonna be kind of a weird example, but like Metroidvania games with way less of the back and forth, but that kind of play style. I would say give it a shot. Story centric games, short indie games that you can kind of sit down and just knock out and get a full experience. I think this is a good game for that. And I think that's all I got.
Only thing I would add to that is like if you're into I guess exploration would go with Metroidvania style games, but if you like more methodical melee combat games, I mean you can kind of walk through and just. My trick was like I just press up or down, and those attacks were really fast. And so when they approach, I would back up just real quick and then I'd attack real fast, and they walk right into it. But didn't always work, but it worked often. But I still had to, in a game where you'd be hacking and slashing, you'd run in there, start mashing the button. In this, I'd run into dudes. And I'd like wait for them to attack and then take them out. So it gave me that kind of samurai feel. And so if you're looking for a melee combat game that has a slower pace to its combat,
A little more engaging, yeah.
I would recommend it. But other than that, I pretty much agree with everything you said.
Okay.
I also think it's a gem of indie games, even with the brokenness. So if you like playing indie games and seeing what indie developers are doing with their limited means in comparison to AAA and sometimes outdoing AAA, BattleBit Remastered.
All over my TikTok. I never even played the game.
Yeah. Definitely check it out because I think it's a really good example of just the cool stuff that we get from indie developers.
Yeah.
Yeah, other than that, I got nothing.
All right.
All right, let's grade it. I'll grade it first. This is tough because I want to give it a B plus, but I have to dock it for the brokenness. And if it's an easy fix, which I haven't checked yet, it's not that big of a deal. But if it's not, it's going to be really annoying. But it is pretty crazy that the AI just broke. So I'm going to give it a really, really soft B, which is still pretty high, I think, for a game that's essentially broken, but you didn't experience it. But other than that, I think it's a really cool indie game. It's right up my alley in terms of subject matter and visual style. Gameplay I thought was fun, simple but effective. It's just it's an indie game, and it has some problems when it comes to technical stuff. And I got to experience that in the last minute. I was telling you earlier tonight that my opinion had changed from the two different times I played the game. Because I played the game the first time, and I was like, oh, this is neat. And then when I came back and played it, I was still thinking like, oh, this is neat. And then like the last 30 minutes of playing is when things broke. And I was like, uh-oh.
Yeah.
What is this shit? So, but yeah, B. It's an easy B. I would like to go higher, but yeah. Although I don't think I'd give it an A territory, so B plus would probably be the cap for me unless I beat this game and has an amazing ending, which I don't see happening. But for what it is, it's really cool.
Yeah, I think I'm also gonna give it a B. Different reasons, obviously. Big reason for me is, it is just kind of just is what it is. It's a very compact experience, and I'm not like dying to go play it. You know what I mean? So I do think it does fine. It's got some minor issues, or in your case, I would say kind of a bigger issue.
Major.
But yes, it's just it's a good like one-off for sure. But I don't think it's something like, even a couple months from now, I'm even going to be really thinking about, to be honest. So
Yeah.
I think B is pretty fair. So
All right. Anything else?
nope.
Let us know in the comments what you guys think of Trek to Yomi. Did you like it? Did you not like it? If you didn't like it, why didn't you like it? If you did like it, what did you like about it? What do you think about the samurai aesthetic? What do you think about the Kurosawa look? What do you think about the combat, the gameplay? What do you think about the design of the map? Did you run into any bugs? If you did, share them, because I'm curious, because how major mine was. I assume other people have probably experienced this, because it felt like a very confident bug.
Yeah.
A bug that just is just very okay with existing. And yeah, let me know what you think about in the comments below when it comes to Trek to Yomi. Last game we played in June was Jurassic World Evolution 2, which, if you don't know, is the sequel to Jurassic World Evolution, which are park sim games, micromanaging games similar to like a Zoo Tycoon or like a roller coaster tycoon style game, except for with dinosaurs that can get out and harm your
Everything.
harm your everything. It's very true. The game features building your own park, micromanaging your park, hiring scientists, doing research and development on new types of dinosaurs and new attractions for your park, maximizing profits for your park, capturing dinosaurs, because apparently this game takes place after the third new movie that I've not seen, but I gather that dinosaurs now have
It's just part of the
escaped and they
ecosystem.
live everywhere now. The second level in the campaign is Washington State. Didn't look like Washington State to me. I happen to live here.
Also, snowy?
Yeah, it's weird. Like, where the fuck are you at, Mount Rainier? We barely get snow. Except for the last couple of years, we've been getting more snow than normal.
Sure.
Anyway, and yeah, you run a park and things can happen. Like, I think in the campaign, my fence broke and a thing just got
That
out.
is intentional
Yeah.
for training purposes, but yes, it does happen.
Yeah, I was like, oh shit.
Yeah.
So, we both played it, and yeah, let me know what you thought of the game.
All right. These kind of games are right up my alley. It didn't take much to convince me to play it. So, and we had played the first one.
Yeah, we liked the first one, and I just needed to find time to play this, because I these kind of games you can't be like, well, I'm gonna hop in and play a match.
Also, we got Age of Wonders 4, and we have a game we haven't finished.
I would love to get back to playing that.
So, but Jurassic World Evolution 2, I believe is what it's called.
That's the name.
My brain, sorry, older millennial, it's Jurassic Park in my head, so the world thing throws me off.
It will always be Jurassic Park for me.
Yeah, so the one thing I'm going to just kind of start with is, if you played the first game, super familiar. It's that and more. So, which is great. So what I wanted to see when I played this. It was very familiar, though I had to learn how to play it on a controller.
I thought it played pretty well on a controller.
It does, but I still had to learn it. So
Yeah, I like how simplistic it was. Like, I didn't feel like I was like
Yes.
fumbling through the menus with the controller.
Yeah, honestly, the only part about building on a controller I don't like is without snap on. It's not super. It's like if you want to make like custom shape, like whatever's you're making, right? I pretty much had to put snap on all the time to not drive myself crazy. Versus like with a mouse, obviously on a computer, I would be able to make more minute details.
Yeah.
This is not a knock of the game. This is just something I noticed with the control scheme with it. I will not be docking it for that, though, because that is just a preference of controls. Game ran great. I had zero technical problems. It just played, which is great.
No broken AI.
I played for about 7 to 8 hours, so I got a pretty good play session in. I did a little bit of the single player, doing the tutorial mission, and then one additional map. And then I was like, I just want to experience all the toys, because this is probably the only chance I'm going to play this month, and I need to be able to talk about it later. So I went into free play mode. I went ahead and I turned off some of the nuisances that can happen, because mostly I just wanted to kind of see what would happen in a long-term park without having to fight things like weather, etc. I already know what to expect when those things happen, so I wasn't like necessarily trying to learn that as much as I just kind of see all the new buildings and dinosaurs and stuff like that. And there's a lot you can do in this game. Like, I really enjoy the fact that you can be out researching dinosaurs and and this was in the first game too, but bringing more and more of them to life, and then like getting like specific traits you want and creating basically like these super dinos, which you could either decide to keep as an attraction or sell to people for money. The park design stuff is really fun as well. There's a lot of different like fence options depending on like how big your dinos are or how dangerous they are. When you have a lot of the early dinosaurs, a level 1 fence is fine versus like when you have something huge that just wants to eat everything. You should probably have a level 3 with a ton of electricity running through it. It still has like a lot of the feeding systems that I remember in the first game, specifically like the goat. Mm-hmm. Though
Classic.
with them having a lot of like aerial and sea options now, you had like all these cool like fish feeders and stuff like that. I remember having I can't remember the word for it, but it is basically a bunch of domes for like flying dinosaurs. Mm-hmm. But I had to put a little body of water in there, shallow water, so I could put a fish feeder there so they had something to eat in there. Lots of different ways for your guests to check out the dinosaurs too. They can do vehicles like, you can go back to like the Jurassic Park area where it's the Jeep, or you can do like Jurassic World like bubble thing that they drive around in.
All things that are dangerous.
Yeah, there's also like trees that are actually like viewing rooms that you can put in the cages, so they can be like hiding among the dinosaurs basically. Mm-hmm. It's just really creative. I really like that a lot.
It's a fun take on essentially a genre that already kind of exists, building parks. Plus, I like the danger element of it. Like everything that you do has a element of something can go awry, so you have to kind of keep track of what's happening in the park. And there's something too that I didn't experience, but I was reading up on some of the new features of this game versus the last game, and one of them is, I guess, if you neglect your scientists, they can sabotage your park.
So they can ask you.
They can be Nedry, essentially.
You didn't say the magic word.
Or the other dude from the newer movies, but I guess he's in the original one too. But
that's a neat little curveball to throw in there.
Yeah, I didn't experience it, but this thing I was reading was talking about how they added. They also added time manipulation, which I didn't realize wasn't in the first game, but very appreciated in this game because there's a lot of parts in the game where you got to wait for things, and it's really nice to be able to fast forward. I'm a big fan of being able to pause, fast forward. Time.
I think any management game needs that.
Yeah, I 100% agree. Even and if you, side note, if you make a tower defense game and you don't have any way to speed up time, you're a fucking psychopath. That shit drives me insane. So yeah, I really appreciate that. But I thought it was kind of neat that they added a system where you gotta make sure you're paying your scientists well and letting them get rested. Otherwise, they'll sabotage the park and kill a bunch of innocent people because they're not getting paid right.
Yeah. And this isn't new to these kind of games, but the game does a really good job of like telling you like the needs of not only your scientists but like the visitors as well. So you can like if you click, like let's say you go to like build restrooms, and as soon as you click on it, it'll show your roads, and it'll be like green, yellow, red, and red is like there's not a lot of access to restroom here, so it's really easy for you to make decisions on where to like put things. The same with like emergency shelters in case an accident does happen. They have a place to run to and hide. All sorts of stuff like that. And I really appreciate that because I think a good example is like if you ever played Cities, that game really wants you to like kind of dig into everything, but you kind of learn through trial and error, versus this game kind of gives you a little bit of hand holding. It's not playing for you, but it's just kind of giving you really good suggestions on things. Which I think is great, especially if you're going to put a game like this on console and something with the Jurassic franchise on it. It's going to attract more than just a micromanagement audience. So
it kind of reminds me of when Halo Wars came out. Like Halo Wars wouldn't be a good RTS on PC because it just is like kind of simplistic. But for a console RTS, it was designed for console, and it worked really well with the controller. This game kind of reminds me of that as well. Of course, this game would be fine on PC. In fact, I played the first one on PC as well. But it definitely feels like it's prioritizing certain things to be accessible on a controller. I also like too that I know some people probably aren't a big fan of this, but it doesn't have deeper customization like other park sims, where you can like customize like every little thing, like every attraction, every.
You can customize your stores pretty detailed.
Can you?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe I gotta look into it deeper then, because yeah, when I was playing, it didn't look like there was like a lot of customization, but maybe I just didn't look at the right thing. But because what was the one that I think I own it. It's one of those park sims, and it's fucking crazy. You can like really you can change everything.
Well, theme park sims are definitely pretty nuts. Yeah.
Yeah, like you can like you get like base like a hot dog stand, and you can change like every piece on it, every color, everything. It's fucking
Yeah, it
crazy.
doesn't have that.
Yeah, and so, but my point is, not every game needs to have
True.
that, because this game has this other system happening in it that a lot of park sims don't, where you're constantly making sure everything has a balance to it so things don't go awry, because you have dangerous elements, you have you're trying to make money, but you're also trying to make sure that people don't get killed.
While also trying to keep the dinosaurs happy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so like there's a lot of other little micromanaging systems that you have to take care of in this game that I think gives it its own place amongst other games in the genre.
Yeah.
So
I do. One thing I also like too is you could set up these little posts inside the cages, and you'll get this little circle shows like how much area covers, and you're effectively like your rangers or whatever. Like they go and they do checkups and stuff like that on stuff, but that also counts for your doctors and stuff like that. And so when all of a sudden a new disease is formed and it's spreading through your park, they have these checkpoints that they can go to and try to take care of that, which is a nice little extra little thing as well to throw in there, because they're animals. So and I haven't played a Zoo Tycoon or anything like that. I've been meaning to, but I just haven't got around to it. But I don't know if those games have that kind of stuff where like they get sick with like different kinds of sicknesses, and you got to research cures and stuff like that for them. And
Yeah, I can't remember
that. So, and I think it's a neat little thing on top of all the other little systems, because the game, obviously the main focus is the dinosaurs. The park stuff is there obviously, but it's really trying to celebrate Jurassic World essentially.
yeah.
So, anyways, I'm rambling. I had a fun time. Just kind of the actual tidbit before we get into recommendations, but Steam Summer Sale started. It was $15. I bought it on PC. So,
Oh.
yeah.
I didn't know it was on there. I mean, it makes sense it is. I just didn't realize it was that cheap.
Yeah, so I have it on PlayStation. I went ahead and bought it on PC. So.
Yeah. I might have to do that myself, because even though I don't mind playing it on console, I still would prefer to play it on mouse and keyboard.
Yeah, it plays great on a controller.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. I'll be quick with my impressions, because I just was kind of piggybacking off everything you were saying. I agree with pretty much everything you're saying. But for people who maybe want to know what I did in the game, I think the first 2 or 3 campaigns. I think the campaign's super short, because I went through those pretty quick, and I think there's like
mostly
6.
just unlocks maps for free play.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I played some, I think free play sandbox, whatever the hell. Did that. I was gonna try out. There's like a challenge mode. I didn't touch that. And then there's a mode that's supposed to be like the events from Jurassic Park and World, I think.
Oh, okay.
I didn't touch that either, because like I don't have an affinity for Jurassic World as a franchise, so I was like, I don't really care about those. But I think you can unlock stuff by doing that, which I think is a good incentive
That
to
is definitely a good incentive.
go around and actually try everything. So it's a good design that they implemented there. But from what I experienced with the campaign and with the free play, it is a more than competent park sim that I think, as I said earlier, kind of has its own edge in terms of like what it offers the genre with the dinosaur aspect to it. Obviously, there's like a lot of nostalgia there of like all the things from the franchise, like the goat and just vehicle stuff like that. But I think there's a fun balance of just building your park, but also just making sure everything is working good. There's like this low sense of like, not quite paranoia, but like I'm always just kind of like making sure. It's like when you watch Jurassic Park and like the kids are going on the thing looking for everything, and they're just kind of like watching on the screens, like, just paying attention to everything that's happening. I feel like the same. Like, I'm just like watching the park, like, okay, is anything gonna happen? Anything gonna go wrong? I think it has some fun little systems that like kind of also invite things to happen. So, for instance, you were talking about, I forgot what they're called, but they're like the little ranger stations you can put inside of the pens, and you can assign people to go kind of just go in there, check on things, and leave or whatever. Or you can do it manually, which is always funny.
They also restock the feeders.
Yeah, and you can just like roll in there manually, and I was
I
always
forgot
like
to add that you could control pretty in depth the vehicles.
Yeah. You can like drive in, and then you can like bring out the binoculars and scan things, and I like that because you can kind of see what's like up with them. But then certain dinosaurs will like get aggressive with you, and you got to get out of there. And even if you have them on automation, things happen. Like I was working on a fence line or something, and it's like the vehicle's taking damage. And I'm like, what? And I like scrolled up, and when I scrolled up, the two dudes were like driving out of the fence, and like there's a bunch of pieces of the car behind them just all over the place, and there's just a dinosaur chasing after them. I'm like, what the fuck were you guys doing in there?
I had one where they went in to refeed this. They weren't Triceratops, but they were similar to Triceratops.
Mm-hmm.
And as soon as the vehicle got closer, it just went and hit it, and the physics, it made it go woo straight up in the air.
Yeah, it's
I was
ridiculous.
like, they're dead.
True. Yeah, fucking they were Triceratops ones. I noticed, like, fucking, I was like, oh, they're herbivores, whatever. I drove near them, and fucking they're all getting weird and shit. I was like, oh god. So it's anyway, it's got that danger element.
Mm-hmm.
But I like that you can automate things. You can also be more hands on with this, specifically when you're shooting tranks into things. It kind of gives it it's not a shooter, but it gives an element of action, which is kind of interesting.
A little more involvement.
Yeah, especially if things go awry. You got to fly in there and aim and shoot the thing while it's running around going crazy, which I think is a fun thing. I already touched on this a little bit, but the UI and the systems I think work well, specifically for a controller, because that's how we played it. I'm not a fan of clicking in the touchpad to get a menu to fast forward and stuff, but I don't know how else you would do it. In other games, you'd probably use shoulder buttons, but those have uses in this, so I don't know what I would prefer. Maybe if it was like touch, like if you scroll right twice or something on the touchpad, it fast forwards something. That'd be kind of cool. But I know a lot of people don't like that kind of stuff, because back when I used to play Warframe on console, I liked that I could do abilities by sliding up, down, left, and right, and other people didn't. Other people didn't like it, and I heard some people say they accidentally would do moves with that. And I'm like, I don't play like that, so I don't know how you accidentally do that. But I digress. Something like that would have been cool, but I don't think it'd be popular for everybody. Overall though, I think the game looks decent until you go into first person mode and you walk around, because then you really see, what you're not seeing when you're zoomed out, but the game's not supposed to be like that. But I appreciate when you can do that in any of these kind of games, especially games with rides where you can ride them. I always think that's really neat. It'd be really cool doing VR.
True.
And yeah, all the creative tools are easy to use, simple. I do like the freeform / snap system on a controller. I had to take a little bit more time to make sure it snapped, because it's very quickly will go right off that line.
I think the snap was fine. It's when you turn the snap off I didn't like it.
Yeah, but it still seems to be pretty simple in terms of like being able to build it however you want and connect it to the end to make it all work. So I think it's kind of it works well. It's easy. And then like adding doors and stuff like that, like, some games, sometimes you have to build the door itself and then build around it. But in this game, you just like along the fence line, just if you have the door equipped, you just equip it, or not equip it, you install it. And I think that's a really simple system. So the game is really straightforward and easy to play, which I appreciate. I did have a weird issue on the first level of the campaign. The first time I tried it, it was pretty much a tutorial, so I was like figuring the game out, but I couldn't select all the Triceratops or something. When I reloaded, it worked.
Yeah, so you have to go twice to go get the dinosaurs, and it's a single one, and then it's a herd, and the herd and because I made a similar mistake, though, I was able to go back. You said you reloaded at work,
Yeah.
so, but I accidentally grabbed one instead of all of them. So,
Yeah, he would just like I was pressing on them and it wouldn't do anything.
yeah.
So I was like, I had a bunch of fucking bugs apparently this month. That's my takeaway from June. But yeah, the game's cool. I don't want to reiterate all the stuff we were talked about, but I enjoyed it. I would say that I would continue playing this, but I don't know if I want to continue playing it on my console. So I might look into that sale and pick it up. But yeah, I thought the first one was good. I think this one's good as well. I feel like it offers more. You said that earlier.
Yeah.
Like it's like the last game but better, and I feel like that as well. And so yeah, it was a fun game, and I would definitely play it again. So that's good to say because I didn't really feel well. I do want to beat Trek to Yomi, but if my AI is broken, I'm not. I'm done. I'm not playing it like that. Yeah, it was a good game. It's fun. I want to jump into recommendations.
Okay.
Okay, good. Go ahead.
Oh, so yeah, park simulator games or just sim games in general. Even if you're a fan of like The Sims, you might find something here. If you are into the idea of like building and decorating a zoo, I was gonna say a park, but a zoo is probably more accurate. This is a pretty solid game for that. If you're a fan of Jurassic Park or Jurassic World, there's a lot here that's fan service for you, being with the vehicles or even like the NPCs. I think it's not Chris Pratt, his voice, but his character is one of the NPCs you deal with.
I think he's the only one who's not actually the actor who played that character, though, because I think
Probably too expensive.
Yeah, or he's too busy because they fucking cast him in everything.
He was Mario recently.
He was everything recently.
I need to watch that still.
Same.
Let's
Everybody
see.
keeps talking about this Peaches song, and I'm like, I don't even know what song that is.
Yeah. Let's see. Man, I don't.
On top, piggybacking off the Jurassic Park, Jurassic World recommendation, if you like dinosaurs.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter if you like Jurassic Park or Jurassic World. If you're into dinosaurs, you like the idea of like having a park with dinosaurs in it. It's not a whole lot of options out there, and this is a pretty good one. So
Yeah.
also micromanaging. That kind of goes with the park sim thing,
Yeah.
but maybe you're just into managing things. You like numbers, you like crunching numbers, you like strategizing on how you can maximize profit, stuff like that. Check it out.
Yeah. I'm not really sure how to word this, but if you like the idea of random events that can unfold to present, challenges that aren't like scripted. So examples like
Dynamic gameplay.
weather or scientists being pissed off at their work conditions, etc. It does that. It has a lot of different like things that can go wrong. If you have those turned on, those are optional. So.
Yeah. I don't know if there's anything else to add, really.
It's a pretty like this is what it is game. So
Yeah. Yeah, it's very much of its genre.
yeah.
I don't think if you're like just into, if you're only into NBA 2K23 or if you're only into Call of Duty, this game is not going to change your
You're probably
mind
not
on
even
that.
watching us.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, you're probably playing that or fucking watching someone stream that
Getting mad at
while
your
they complain.
Significant other for unplugging your system mid game.
True, I've seen that. Yeah, I don't think I have anything else to recommend when it comes to that. Pretty straightforward. So, you did your impressions first.
Yes.
So I will grade it. I'm going to give it a really strong, confident B plus. I need to play it more if I were to go above that, but I think it's good. I think it does what it's supposed to well. I think it offers an experience that feels unique, which is great to be able to say with a movie tie-in property game. And yeah, I feel like it's just kind of welcomed in the genre. If you like this genre and you are curious about this game, I think you're gonna get an experience out of it that just feels like something that you're gonna look forward to a second, third, fourth game in the series. It definitely has its home in this ecosystem, and I liked it. So yeah, B plus.
Yeah. I'm going to give it an A minus. I think the fact that nothing went wrong when I played it and that it got me to sit there for 6 to 8 hours. I don't know how long I played in that sitting. It's a feat in itself because I'm kind of antsy sometimes and I have to get up constantly. And I did not playing this. So
It's good.
yeah. I definitely am worried about playing again the same way I'm worried to play like Civ or Age of Wonders or anything like that because I know that's just going to be my day at that point.
You need the time to play it. That was my biggest struggle this whole month playing this game is I was like, I've had like no time this whole month. And so finally I was like, okay, I got some hours I can put into it finally.
Yeah.
Otherwise I can't even humor playing it because I'm not going to play for 30 minutes and be like, all right, I built a fence.
Yeah.
So anyway.
Yeah, and to reiterate, I bought it on PC so that I could play some more. So
You'll have to let me know how it, I'm sure it plays better.
I'm
but
sure it's fine. Yeah. So yeah. Anyways, A-. I think it was a really good get for me. So
it's two games this month that you graded higher than me. So that's interesting to see, which is great. But yeah, A- is good. So I can see myself maybe going up there if I play it more. But from what I did play, I liked it. But anything else?
no, I just think it just to kind of reiterate real quick. I think it has the right amount of complexity, but also accessibility to play. So
Yeah, it's a good balance of complexity and simplicity, with enough dynamic events happening that makes every time, even if you got everything figured out, can offer new experiences. So
for sure.
all right, well, let us know in the comments what you guys think of Jurassic World Evolution 2. Here's the big question. Is it an improvement on the last game if you've played the last game? Do you like it more or less? But if you are just playing this for the first time or not really thinking about the last game, what do you like about it? What don't you like about it? Is this your style of game? If so, what do you like about it in terms of that? If not, does it still attract you? Does the Jurassic World brand do enough for you to make you want to play it? And what features do you like? What do you think about some of the new iteration or new systems that they've implemented into the game? And yeah, let me know what you think about in the comments below when it comes to Jurassic World Evolution 2 and all the games we played in June. But that's going to do it for this episode of Plus Club. As always, thank you for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe. Make sure to, check out our streams and socials linked down below. Check out our Discord link down below. You can talk to us anytime, all the time. We're on iTunes, Spotify, and other podcast platforms if you prefer to listen to us in audio form. We have a Patreon if you'd like to support this channel more than liking, commenting, sharing, and subscribing if you're brand new. And I have a TikTok link down below if you'd like to watch my shorts there, since I can't post them here. I've been Seth. Thank you, Chevy, for joining me for this. Thank you guys for joining us. And stay tuned. We have Game of the Month coming out tomorrow. We'll be discussing Elder Scrolls Online. I'll be talking about Necrom, but we will have a lot to say on that. And then Chevy gets to pick July's Game of the Month, so hopefully he's put some thought into that, and we will find out together. But until then, have a good one, guys, and take it easy.